All right, this is your final review, numbers 1 through 3. The first one says, what are the solutions of the equation x squared minus 1 equals 0? Use a graph of the related function. This is something you could just type into your graphing calculator. So on your calculator, you would go to y equals and type in x squared minus 1. And then we're looking for where your graph crosses the x-axis. If you do this, you can also factor this. Remember, this first thing's a perfect square, so you can take the square root, and the second part is 2. And when you do that, you'd have x plus 1 and x minus 1. But if you graph it, you'll notice that there'll be a dot on 1, a dot on -1, and then 1 on -1 down there. And then your graph will actually look something like this. Your two solutions are where it crosses the x-axis, so here at -1 and there at 1. So your solutions would be x equals 1 and x equals -1. And to be honest, if you're trying to solve any of these problems, let's say what's the solution of the graph, you could just graph it because we are doing a multiple choice test, so your options will be there, so you could just type into your calculator and see what your answer is. The next one says solve the equation using a zero product property. For the zero product property, you take each of your factors and you set them equal to 0. So we have x minus 2 and x plus 7. So I'm going to do x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 7 equals 0. And then you want to get x by itself. So on the left, we're going to add 2 to each side and get x equals 2. On the right, we're going to subtract 7 from both sides and get x equals -7. And those are your two solutions. The next one says, what are the solutions of the equation? I'm going to zoom in. We have z squared minus 12z plus 36. Notice that there's a 1 in front of your z squared, like a sneaky little invisible one, which means I'm going to use the x method. Remember, you're multiplying on top, adding on the bottom. Your b value goes on the bottom, so -12 on the bottom, 36 on top. What multiplies to 36 and adds to -12? This one's going to be -6 and -6. If I do -6 times -6, I get a positive 36. If I do -6 plus -6, I get a -12. So my two factors are going to be x minus 6 times x minus 6. We're going to set them both equal to 0, but they're the same, so I'm only going to do it once. Remember, you need to add 6 to both sides to get x by itself. So we're going to do plus 6, and you get x equals 6. And that is your final answer.